So tonight we are talking about raising highly sensitive children, and these 7 principles are just kind of rushed in. I didn't set an intention to have 1 or 3 or 7 or 12, but when I got to 7 it really felt like they were complete, although each of them can kind of be frayed out and tethered out a little bit more and deepened in, and that's really what I want to do right now. Principle number 1, tell them the truth. You know, we all intuitively know this, but as adults, it's very, very difficult to actually define the boundaries around where is it appropriate to tell my children the truth and where is it not appropriate, and how can I tell them the truth in a way that will be honest and reach their hearts, but not overwhelm them with detail that they aren't ready for. So there's a fine line here. What's really important for ourselves as highly sensitive people and children being highly sensitive is that we intrinsically sense and know when people are lying to us. So just a raise of hands if you know when someone's lying to you. You know, when they really put on that convincing thing and they talk to you. And here's 1 or 2 problems. One is that they know that you know that they're lying, but they just keep going because they can't face within themselves that they're lying. So you get that. And we all know it's you know, you don't argue with that person because they're committed to telling the lie. Does that make sense when you hear me say it? The other one is when people are lying to us and we know the truth, but they don't actually know that they're lying. Okay, does that make sense when you hear me say it? When people are actually convinced that what they're saying is the truth, even though we know it's a lie. So once again, no point even trying to clarify this or negotiate it because they're not actually aware that they're lying. Being highly sensitive mothers, I can really recognize and honor that each of you really loves to tell your children the truth. And for me, the most important part of raising our highly sensitive children is that they have us to trust in. When my son asked me about Santa Claus, and he said, "He's not real, Mum?" I agreed with him. Now, I'm not telling you to do the same. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble here, but I just want to point out the degree to which I'm personally living this in my life, and I want to expose why, because this is more important. I don't want to project any sort of morality or expectation around what you reveal to your children. What's most important for me is that my children know that when they ask me a question, they get a truthful answer. This world can be very deceptive. So if my child is brave enough to ask me a question to want to find out information, I trust that they're prepared to hear the truth that I feel to impart to them. Now, I really want you to intuitively feel within yourself what's right, but no, we don't believe in, you know, the tooth fairy and the Easter bunny, and, you know, we play, but they know that it's not, you know, something that's tangible and real. What's really important is that when highly sensitive children know that you're lying and you try to tell them the truth, the most damaging effect that can happen is that if they know you're lying but you're being really convincing, or someone out in the world is being very convincing, they can actually distrust their own sense of internal guidance, their own perception. So this is really what this principle is all about. What we're really trying to do with this child is really help them to know that they can trust their own senses. So that's, you know, the highest priority for me, that I tell them the truth. For example, I had a sneaky habit of eating my daughter's leftovers. It was such a sneaky habit, and I'm like trying to be resourceful, and I'm like, you know, she's finished now. And it's funny because she came back, she's like, "Mum, did you eat the other half of my fruit muffin?" And I was like, "Yes, I did." She went, "Mummy." It was just hilarious, and I said, "I'm very sorry." And so that was a really great opportunity for me to see how much it upset her that I thought that she'd walked away. She was not finished. Even if she's finished, she does not want me doing that. And so that's a new relationship, that the more we can tell the truth to our children, we're actually forming clarity around boundaries, around how they need to be respected and honored. Is this resonating when you're hearing me talk? I'm not talking about fruit muffins and stealing our 3-year-old's leftovers. I'm really talking about the gift of that truth is that we're actually getting a really clear picture on what that child needs in order to feel safe and supported and loved. So moving into principle number 2, acknowledging their feelings. Now, many of you are very familiar with my work, and you'll know some of the foundational skills that I work with my clientele. All of my clients are on the spectrum of highly sensitive. I'm always getting people at the beginning to learn the art of acknowledging our feelings, and all of you know the value of this. For anyone who has experienced anxiety attacks or highly volatile emotions, really the most powerful, loving thing that we can do for ourselves as highly sensitive people is simply to acknowledge what we're feeling. Everyone who has done this knows how terrifying it is, and I just sit in that space with people and I ask them lovingly, what are you feeling right now? And you'll know those 3 to 10 seconds to 30 seconds to 2 minutes that it takes you to actually name the feeling. It's a very uncomfortable period of time, hey? Because the scariest thing when we're feeling everything, remember, our feelings almost feel like they're bigger than our body sometimes. They extend and they fill us up so big that when we don't know what we're feeling and it's such a big experience, the not knowing is a very terrifying aspect. So simply bringing awareness and acknowledging the feeling that we're feeling will bring it down by about 70% of intensity. Everyone who's used to working with me knows that as we name the feeling, it softens. And it's just miraculous. Now, when we're practicing principle number 2, the difficult thing and why a lot of parents don't do this is that we fear our children activating us. Now, I don't think this is the case for many of you, but for anyone listening to this replay, you know, we really do fear our children triggering us, because a parent's deepest fear is that we will actually recreate for our children the same pain that we felt was unbearable for us. Just nod your head if you know what I'm talking about. Okay, yes. So what's so fascinating is that in our attempt to have them avoid the pain that struck us so deeply, is that we can actually quite get, you know, forceful and controlling and very insistent on them not feeling something or not experiencing something because we're too frightened that they might be experiencing something very similar to what we did in the past. So really healing our own hearts and doing work to be able to see how our own past trauma has blessed us, how our own pain actually cultivated our purpose, and how our own gifts have caused massive problems for our own life, and yet they're here to bless us and everyone else around us. So acknowledging their feelings is not easy because you need to be in deep connection with your own emotional state. You will know how to do that, so being able to anchor yourself in your own state and invite them in. I don't, probably under 10, I would not expect them to be able to say what they're feeling. Over 10, I would start encouraging them to. Under 10, I would encourage you to perceive and go, are you feeling sad? You look like you're upset. Is it anger that you're feeling? And I know it seems like, you know, if you've got a little boy who's thrusting his fists on the ground and you say, are you feeling it? It feels a bit like you're actually being condescending. But what you're actually doing is you're inviting that child to self-reflect and feel into their own system and check, is that what I'm feeling? Now, why this is actually really important is that feelings don't always manifest as you would expect. For example, little boys always have an aversion to sadness. Little girls always have an aversion to anger. So little girls who are crying sometimes can be deeply angry on the inside and actually don't know how to express that in a way that they feel safe. Now, this is very true for adults as well. Getting a man to actually cry. Angry men are often sad men, and they don't know how to allow themselves to cry or mourn or be with that depth of sadness or sorrow. So do you see what I mean? Just the simplicity of acknowledging their feelings. If it's anger, there's going to be a whole different response. But if it's sadness, there's a different response. So just getting clarity on that just will take us so far. Every time I practice this with my children, mostly with my little girl lately, who's 3, I say, are you feeling sad? And she'll put her head down. She goes, I'm sad. And all of the screaming and the ranting, it softens her. And it's just beautiful. This principle practiced is just so much more profound than it sounds. Acknowledge their feelings, but please play with this. Please allow yourself to feel a bit goofy and dumb. Allow yourself to sit with that kind of not knowing weirdness and just allow yourself to really feel in and go, are you feeling angry? Is this sadness? Do you feel sad, sweetheart? And I promise you, if you can get them just to acknowledge what they're feeling, The other thing that it really does is once they know what's happening in their inner world, little children, particularly once again under 10, intuitively know how to actually shift themselves emotionally. If they're scared and they don't know what they're feeling, and you can help them just to connect with what they're feeling, they will intuitively actually figure out whether they want to go for a run, or if they just need a cuddle, or if they want to read a book, or they will kind of intuitively know how to release that emotion. Kids are amazing at this. I wish there could be a child masterclass where children got up on a stage and taught parents and adults actually how to allow themselves to feel. Children are very good at that. Just nod if you've seen this in action. Children are very, very good. They don't know how to censor yet. They don't know how to put up a social facade, a mask. Okay. What do you do when you have no words for the feelings? May I ask if this is for you or your child, darling? Just to clarify. I'm trying to help identify the good feelings too. Oh, look, it's amazing how much I still resist joy. It's amazing because it expands me so far. I try to distract myself from joy. So right now I'm really expanding into the discomfort of joy. Is this not a worthwhile human goal? I mean, what sort of endeavor is there worth in life than training ourselves to expand into higher levels of happiness and joy and peace? Great. Well, darling one, what's really good about this is I'd love to encourage you that the more you could clarify this within yourself, I promise you that they will mirror it and that they will feel more comfortable saying it as well. I'm going to tell you the top 4 that it always will be. Every other emotion is going to be a derivative of one of these. So sadness, anger, yeah, wow, fear, or guilt. So sadness can cover sorrow. Grief is in sad. Sorrow, grief, loss. Anger can also be frustration, irritation. Yes. Fear, scared, afraid, nervous. Yeah, guilt. Guilt is a special one to pay attention for those who are empathic, for those who have the gift of empathy. That, you know, being an empath means that we from a young age often learn to take responsibility for other people's feelings. So empaths very, very commonly feel inappropriate guilt, and I know you all know what I mean when I'm saying this. So someone's sharing, yes, I've worked really hard to name feelings and connect him to his feelings, connect him to express them in a way that's acceptable. Yep, lovely. Essentially not hurting himself or others. But in the most challenging week of my parenting life, he has expressed, I don't know what you're doing. I won't let you change my brain. He wants to hold on to how angry he is. Yeah. Oh, darlings. Yeah, this is lovely to bring forward, and let's dive in. So I was really intending that tonight could be healing for all of us. And so where I'm going to just suggest this for you, darling, I want you to feel in and feel if it resonates. And obviously this is an invitation for everyone. If we just think about those 4 feelings that we just covered, sad, anger, fear, and guilt, what I want you to reflect on is, which of those 4 feelings do I personally resist the most? Which one do I personally have the strongest discomfort from? And if you want to chime in and tell me, yep, if you're a woman, it's commonly going to be anger. I'm just really trying to be honest with myself. Just give me a moment here to to feel into. Yeah, I would have to say sad for me. I really I probably resist sadness the most. All of us will have a personal resistance to one of these feelings. Now, what's interesting is if anyone's familiar with shadow work, we manifest our shadow in our in-laws. Ba-boom, ching, we all know this. We also manifest our shadow in our children. They'll be, we can also manifest it in our boss, not very commonly in our friends, definitely once again in colleagues, the people who are a part of our lives that weren't so much a conscious choice to have in our lives. But, you know, our children are really interesting in that my little 3-year-old daughter is incredibly demanding. Now, I want to use this as an example because my little demanding self is a shadow aspect, or in other words, she's an unaccepted component of the truth of who I am. I'm very demanding. but I've made that unacceptable within myself. So when I see my little 3-year-old being demanding, she's got the finger out. She does these ones. She crosses her shoulder, her arms across her chest. She points her fingers and she puts her hand on her hip, stomps her feet on the ground. And I'm like, so it's my practice as a mother in that moment not to shift her emotional state. Now, this is not easy, but this is why it's mutually beneficial for us as highly sensitives and our children to be able to be with their emotional state. And when it's bringing up stuff for us, this is where I really want to look at what we can do to heal that. Because if we're able to really be, for me to be with my sadness, means that I don't try to change my daughter when she's in that state. If I can bring acceptance and permission for her to be in that for as long as she needs to, and I promise you there's magical and mysterious ways and reasons why they need to stay in the emotional state that they're in, that once we don't need them to get out of it, it's amazing how quickly they let themselves out. Is that making sense? My favorite quote around this is, "What we resist persists." And remember, our highly sensitive children know what's going on in our inner world. They can actually perceive us. Yeah. So the person I was just responding back to then, you've referenced shame as something that's difficult for you to feel, and that's another derivative of guilt. But, I'm not saying it's the right word, but that's where I would say it's connected to, and someone else has really chimed in. So if we're not able to be with our sad self, we will have a little person really display sadness. And what they're really doing is they're really teaching you the value of sadness. And there is a real value to sadness. In my first book, Heart Healing, I really talk about how the feeling of sadness teaches us what we have lost. And it's only when we can realize what we've lost made us sad because it was valuable that we actually have the intel to be able to fill ourselves with that which is truly precious. So then feeling sadness actually allows ourselves to understand what is truly precious and valuable in life. So when our children are displaying a lot of sadness, they're really recognizing that was actually really important to me. Their show, they miss their show, or, the power goes off and they're trying to do something and they wail, that was really important for them. Anger shows us how our boundaries have been disrespected. And that's really valuable to know where our boundaries have been disrespected, because then we can actually see where that line needs to be, not where we think it should be, but where it emotionally has to be. And once we know where our boundary has to be, then we can actually communicate that, which teaches us the art of self-honoring. That would be another great webinar. I love teaching self-honoring, because no one knows how to honor us, because they don't know what it's like to be in our soul, in our skin, in our sensitivity, in our gifts. So I'm just checking in with that person and just really feeling in. Do you have any questions about anything that I've shared there, and just checking in to see how that's resonating? Yeah, parents can definitely be shadow teachers. Yes. And so remember, shadow teachers are there to show us the parts that we've disowned, that we've rejected. So when my demanding self is rejected, I don't have the capacity to ask for what I truly want. I'm just going to tell you what I'd name that. Yeah, it's princess for me. It's princess. Now, princesses get what they want. Yeah? And so that demanding part of me that was in the shadow, that was repressed and pushed down, that's actually my own inner princess. And when we can honor the inner princess, the princess and the pea is such a pivotal story for the archetype of the princess, that there are specific requirements here. I need this, and I want this shade of color in my dress. That's actually an important way that we need to honor ourselves as well. You're welcome, darling one. Thank you for letting me know that was... Yeah. This is great. Look at the third principle. Beautiful flow here. Honoring their needs. So this is really great. That, see, these shadow components, they're actually a big part of their needs. These children are actually really asking for what they need. And where we're in a bit of a dilemma with our little 3-year-old is she's a very fire personality. Fire people love company. They love to spend time with people. My son is very water emotional. He likes to be able to retreat within himself and be with his own feelings. So at nighttime, she wants to play with him. He wants to be by himself. So we're actually trying to figure out ways that we can accommodate them both. Yeah, it's tricky. But this is what we're here to do. We're here to deal with these problems so that we can learn to extend one another compassion, understanding, and do our best humanly possible to be able to support one another to get what we need. Isn't that heaven on earth, hey? So I think that is sufficient from what we've just spoken about there, that when you see these shadow types coming through, these shadow aspects of ourselves that we're reacting to, and we go, what is this? This is not good. They're actually fulfilling a need through expressing that part of themselves. So principle number 4, give them choices. I know that everyone listening to this is highly sensitive, and you know what happens to you when anyone tries to put you on lockdown. Here's what we'll do if we're forced. We'll either get defensive and we'll get disobedient. You just put on lockdown. The other thing that we'll do is, if we don't want to be disobedient and we don't want to kind of rebel, we'll actually turn in and retreat. Now, this is actually a really common strategy for highly sensitives. If we don't feel like our needs are being heard or what we're expressing will be received, we're going to retreat within, and we're going to wait until we're safe to emerge and start expressing again what we want. Now, I meet adults who are quite, retreated within themselves, and it's a matter of, once again, just really forming trust. Anything that they request, really doing our best. Honor is the key word for highly sensitives. Any way that we can honor them and establish trust and help them to know that their needs are going to be met will help them to feel safer coming back out again and once again asking for what they need. So, if we do see that coercion is often used for highly sensitive children. If you don't do this, you won't get that. And if you do this, this is going to happen to you. My little girl, doesn't work. If you tell her, if you do this, I'll take this off you, like her blanket, she'll just throw her blanket. She'll ditch it. Oh, it's infuriating, because the parenting strategies that worked with my son don't work with my daughter. No. And any of this kind of tug-pull parenting completely doesn't work. I'm going to suggest what works really well for my little girl, and just for you to feel and see if that works for you. The best thing that I've found is appealing to their noble intentions. And now, my little girl is very, very cheeky. She'll look like a cheeky monkey. She's spilling milk, but I go, she wants to play. My little girl loves to have fun and to play. But I have been tempted at times to judge her behavior as bad and wrong. But what I do, I soften my own heart first. I see myself. I soften. I extend her love and compassion. And I bravely choose to love her as she is, knowing that I'm only ever choosing to truly love myself in the moment that I can extend that to her. And then I just let her know that I love her. So before I'll start telling her what she's done that I'm not happy with, I go, sweetheart, I just want you to know you are so important to me. And I know that you love having fun, don't you? And she goes, yes! She just squeals with glee, like, I love having fun. And I said, and you're a bit cheeky, aren't you? She goes, she does these ones. And I'm like, breathe, breathe. And so she steals her brother's toys. And so I've said to her, now, you were stealing your brother's toys, weren't you? And she, yes. I said, you just want to play with him, don't you? Yes. And so as soon as you can establish her intention as noble, if you can spot her motive, spot her intention, and actually put it in a way that you can see how noble it is, how pure it is, you can actually help them to see that the way they're trying to go about getting what they want isn't working. So I said, if you really want to play with your brother, stealing his toys isn't working, is it? And then the sadness comes out, no. So what she's doing is she's going, I don't know how to get what I need to play with him, And so then you can start a conversation around what other things she could do, and just ask her, you want to play, what could you do? And boundaries and consequences, I believe in them so much, but for highly sensitive children, it really just is not is not a productive way to go about. So let's just check in. Yeah, so someone's expressing, yes, this is me perfectly. Strong need for safety, and I hold back expression until I feel safe. So you will know the person that expressed that. If anyone tries to coerce you or force you, they get nowhere. They're dead in the water, yeah? And you close off. Do you feel yourself close your heart off to that person? Yep, wall's up. Someone else is sharing, oh, this one's very relevant for me. My daughter has decided she is not going to school camp. There is pressure from school for her to go, but I don't want her to push her. She has very good reasons for why it would be a waste of time. Really want to honor you, this mother, for extending her that, because, you know, the world won't give these highly sensitive children that. You know, it's going to be rare for the world to give this, and I think it's a rare privilege. One thing I really want to honor my mother for was that if I had my period and I had terrible, terrible pain, excruciating pain for the first 1 or 2 days of my period, she just let me stay home. And I just go, praise my mother for letting me stay home, because I'm so volatile and I'm so aggressive. I'm like a wounded dog. I can really say mean, horrible things when I have my period. So not only was she protecting me, she was keeping everyone at school safe. Thank goodness. So someone's sharing, my daughter uses physical hurting of her brothers, yes, to get them to play with her. This is great. So once again, this is a great conversation for really talking to this beautiful girl and really just talk into her noble intentions. You really want to play with your brothers. You really want to connect with them. And really just asking her to be able to find other ways of doing that, or what could she do with them that they would enjoy? Because my little boy doesn't like tea parties, you know, so my little girl has learned how to line up the army men, and she'll play army wars with her 6-year-old brother. I know there's quite a big gap here, but this would be good to be able to kind of brainstorm with her older brothers what could be a way. Okay, so principle number 5, admit your true feelings. This is so important, because as adults, remember, if we have an aversion to sadness and we feel really upset and we hide that from our children, what we're actually teaching them is that we should be ashamed of our feelings, that we can't share them, and that they're not okay. So I know this is really, really hard for parents, but it's amazing. You know, my son is just brilliant because he's empathic as well. And so I was crying one day, and he came over and he said, Mum, you sad? I said, yeah, I'm really sad. And remember, you don't have to explain why, which is very freeing. He just put his arm around me. He's like, Mum, I love you so much. And you just go, that is all I needed to hear, that sentence. So really, if you're doing this already, like, so proud of you. And if, you know, sad, anger, you know, fear, guilt, if there is a feeling, I particularly would hide fear from my children just to expose that. I'm comfortable all of my children hearing about all of them, but not fear. So that's one where I want to personally really stretch myself when I'm afraid, is just that I'm frightened right now. The more they can see us modeling acceptance of our feelings, once again, the more they're going to be supported to model acceptance of their own feelings, which actually makes them feel really safe inside. Yeah, that's a good question. What if, yeah, they ask why? 2 people have asked that. What if they ask why? I think, you know, when our friends ask us why, we kind of feel, you know, our girlfriends, our really close girlfriend, I think we feel really safe to kind of disclose all the details. With our children, we can talk in context. For example, I'm really sad that I feel like I missed out on something that was important for me. I'm really angry because I didn't feel like someone that I wanted to hear me could actually hear what I wanted to say. So you see how you're talking about the situation from the perspective of what happened to you, omitting names, omitting the details of the context, and just relaying your personal experience of how that felt for you, putting them in little person words in a way that, yeah. Great. So someone's expressing that this was me today. My girls saw me cry. I hid. But then tonight I told them that I felt sad and they hugged me tight. You know, what's really beautiful for the person that shared this, I really want to honor you. And what's really beautiful is that was really scary. And I just want to acknowledge how scary it is when you're a mum and you're sad and you want to protect your children. Very, very tempting to hide our true emotions from them. But why I'm so proud of you is that as you did that, you let them love you, and that is a scarier thing. Because when that love comes at you, it is the purest, most full-hearted, beaming freaking love that exists in the world. Remember, highly sensitive children feel deeply. The secret here is that they love deeply. And that's why we're here to support and nourish and honor this sacred gift. Because when they hand over that love, it reaches you, doesn't it? It reaches you in a way that nothing else can. And we want to be mothers that just embrace and love our children and accept them for who they are and nourish them to be the best people that they can be. But remember, I just want to acknowledge that they have a sacred purpose to do the very same for us. They want us to be the very best version of ourselves, to be the most happy, fulfilled, self-loving women and people that we can. Yay for having highly sensitive children. Oh. We're back in. And so this huge big argument, because I was kind of saying, here I am as a heart healer holding space for these highly sensitive, empathic, beautiful clients I'm blessed to work with, turn to him and go, you don't freaking know what I'm going through. You don't know what I feel. And it was a bit of an impasse in our marriage because I wasn't actually sure whether we could stay together if he couldn't actually feel the depth of what I was feeling. You may have had similar concerns, past, present, future. And what was really lovely is that I actually don't want to be married to someone like me. Let's just get that out there. Hallelujah, hey? I do not want to be married to me. Now, while my husband and I are having this argument, it's getting heated, it's getting loud, my son hears, gets up. Well, he was concerned for us, walks in the room, he goes, what's going on in here? Like the little man that he is. And I said, Daddy doesn't know how I feel. And he came over and he goes, Mum, you are really upset. He goes, you need a hug. And he just wrapped himself around me. I burst into tears. Then I look at my husband. Hello? This, I need this. And what was really interesting, and here's a few things I'm going to suggest, is that in your family, you're going to have all the skills that you need for your soul. Okay, so where my husband can't actually be there for me, my 6-year-old son can. Now, obviously, there's a morality and a moral judgment about how much we expose them to things. But sometimes I really do just need a hug, and he gives that. For if you do not have the skill set, reach out and find friends who do, or a professional who does. Now, because this is my professional capacity, I've actually reached out, and there's 2 healers that I go to when I need someone to hear me and get me and love me through to the highest version of myself. So if you're listening to this, I mean, these needs are just imperative. It's just absolutely essential. If you're highly sensitive, particularly if you're empathic as well, any gift, psychic, intuitive, it's so important to feel understood, acknowledge their wisdom. So this is a really good principle to talk about, that my son is this little man. He's this little wise man. And sometimes he'll say to his father, Dad, you're tired, you're angry because you just need to rest. Go and have a rest, Dad. And it's, you kind of don't want to hear it from your children because, we think we're meant to be the ones doing the adulting. I'm the one doing the adulting. Shh, shh. But the more we can actually acknowledge that these children are privy to very sacred, intimate, private, personal information. These kids know things about you you've never told them. It's very important to be able to acknowledge that. The last one is very, very important for our children who are gifted. So let's talk about the specific gifts that I see most importantly. Okay, so being intuitive, having a sixth sense, having a knowing. Very important that if you don't have this gift and your child does, that you acknowledge their gift. Then being empathic, if they can feel the feelings in other people and this is not your gift, it's very important that you acknowledge that it is true and real and right and that their perception is accurate. If they're psychic, this is probably where non-psychic parents with psychic children are the most confronted, because often non-psychic people don't think being psychic is a real thing. And so hopefully in time we hope that more of an understanding that this is a real and genuine capacity, that once again there'll be a percentage of the population that are endowed with this gift, mostly water people, if you're familiar with the Chinese elemental personality types. But if our children are able to perceive spirits, if they can see colors, if they can see aura, if they can see fairies, if they can see angels, it's very important, just if they have expressed something to you, accept that they're telling you the truth. That's the best thing that you can do, even if you don't believe them. This will really help them to feel heard. So this has just been such a joy, and I hope that I've covered a nice broad spectrum, and that these tips can really help us to be able to feel more deeply connected with our highly sensitive children, that it can help us to more deeply honor and love ourselves with our gifts and our high sensitivity.